You're 16, in your dad's pasture, feathering the joysticks on a Bobcat to push a manure pile into a wagon for free. 25 years later, you're sitting in a glass cab 400 feet over Manhattan, and the union scale on your pay stub reads $113.37 an hour. The Bobcat your dad rented at Home Depot cost him $350 a day. The crane above your head, on its last sale, was part of a $1.4 billion deal. This is every level of a crane operator's career in America, and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The Bobcat Kid. You're 16, and the machine you're driving is a Bobcat. The same model Home Depot rents for $350 a day. Your dad's is paid for. So you grease the pivot pins before he notices, drop the lock bar, and idle for 30 seconds the way he taught you. The hydraulic pump whines. The cab smells like vinyl and diesel. You curl the bucket, dump it, curl it again, learning what the trade calls feathering the sticks. The chore today is a manure pile behind the barn. Pay is $0. Sometimes your dad slides you a 20 at supper. You push the load wrong and tip the Bobcat onto two wheels reaching for the top of the pile, and your dad makes you shovel the rest of it by hand. You shovel it. The next week you load the wagon clean, no spillage, and he doesn't say anything, which is how you know you did it right. You learn to read the machine through your wrist. A heavy load pulls the joystick stiff. A light one floats. You start to see the lift before the bucket moves. One Saturday at the Home Depot rental counter, the contractor in line behind your dad watches you back the Bobcat onto the trailer and laughs. Says you drive better than his Tuesday guy. Your dad doesn't laugh. He nods once, signs the ticket, and hands you the receipt to hold. You stop counting the hours. The first time you curl the bucket, and a 2x10 lays flush with the deck on the first try, you know what feathering means. The machine obeys you. The same machine the week before scared you. Both things are true. By the time you turn 18, the family friend who runs the union hall already knows your name. Level 2. The Oiler. You're 19, in IUOE Local 14 apprentice gear, and you arrive at the job site at 5:30 in the morning to grease the crane before the operator climbs in. The national apprenticeship is 8,000 hours of on-the-job training over 4 years, plus 690 hours of related instruction. Local 14 layers another 1,200 hours of classroom on top of that. The training director, a man named Tom Gordon out of Flushing, will tell you it takes years of experience in the business to become a productive crane operator. You believe him by week 2. The pre-shift inspection has 8 steps and you walk them in the same order every morning. Walk around for fluid leaks. Wire rope drum. Check for bird caging or broken strands. Hook latch. Anti-two-block switch by hand. Ground bearing pads under each outrigger. Outriggers fully extended and pinned. Bubble level on the deck. Function test every control before the first pick. Miss the anti-two-block by hand and the operator catches it from the cab. And you don't miss it again. You hold dunnage from the gang box. You chase wedges. You spot the boom truck driver backing in. You sweep the cab floor. You fetch the laminated load chart and clip it to the lift plan. And on the orange ASME hand signal chart taped to the gang box lid, you learn the difference between the closed fist of stop and the slow circling palm of swing it slow. The first time the journeyman lets you make a dry run with an empty hook, your hand is steady, and that is what he was checking for. The CCO core and mobile written exam wants a 70 on paper. The practical wants a 75 within 12 months. You sit for the written in a folding chair in a community college gym, and your CCO candidate handbook is the only thing in your bag. The customer pays $350 a day to rent a Bobcat. You make $25 an hour, with benefit stamps on top. You start to see the lift before the operator does. You stop saving the pay stubs. The first time you step inside the swing radius without eye contact, the operator's foreman yells loud enough that you flinch. After that, you wait for the nod. You pass the practical on the first try, and the journeyman who has been ignoring you for 9 months hands you a coffee in the trailer and says, "Ready for the seat?" Level 3. The Mobile Operator. You're 25, NCCCO certified, in the cab of a Grove rough terrain crane on a strip mall job, and the customer pays for what you put on the roof. The Bureau of Labor Statistics puts the median wage for construction equipment operators at $58,320 a year, $28.04 an hour. Top decile clears 99930. You're tracking the top decile already. The setup procedure has 10 steps, and the lift plan is a single laminated page. You review the chart. You calculate ground-bearing pressure against the soil report. You deploy outrigger mats, extend the outriggers, pin them, level the carrier within 1 degree. You raise the boom, telescope to plan length, attach the spreader bar and shackles, confirm signals and channel, dry pick a few inches off the deck, and only then do you swing the 12-ton HVAC condenser up over the parapet. There is a 6-inch clearance through the slot on the roof. The signal person on the radio is calling you in by ½ inches. The condenser slides through. You set it. You hold for bolt up. The day the setup goes wrong, you set up on a residential pour, and the front left outrigger pad finds a buried curb under the driveway, and the bubble level rolls a ½ degree off. You catch it before the boom is loaded. You stop the lift. The superintendent is on the radio asking why, and you tell him, hidden curb under the pad, I'm resetting. He doesn't argue, because the chart is the law and you can read it. You reset. The pour finishes. The next morning, the lift director who signed your plan tells the superintendent he wants you back on the next job. You learn to read wind through the windsock and the cab vibration both. You learn to phone the lift director before any pick over 75% of chart capacity, because 75% is what ASMEB 30.5 calls a critical lift, and a critical lift is signed by someone above you. A woman named Kerri Riggio, a New York crane operator who's been profiled by Construction Dive on the shifting demographics of the trade, works the same kind of seat you work, on a higher floor of the same skyline. You hear her name in the trailer the way you used to hear Tom Gordon's. You start logging tower hours. You start logging crawler hours. You stack stickers on the hard hat, IUOE Local number, NCCCO card, and OSHA 30 patch, the project name from the last job. The hat is your resume. The customer pays $1,400 a day to rent the crane and the operator. You make $48 an hour. The chart is the law. You are the priest reading it. One Friday, on a refinery road, you make a pick and carry. The load swinging on a tagline as the crawler walks, and the rigger on the ground gives you the closed fist before you ask. He's seen what you do. You set the load. You stop counting the picks. By the time the supervisor brings you the Local 14 transfer paperwork, you already know which window you want. Level 4. The Tower Crane Operator. You're 33, IUOE Local 14 to 14B, and the wage scale on the 2023 to 2024 sheet reads $113.37 an hour straight, $181.39 on overtime. With the full benefit stamps on top, the all-in package clears $200 an hour. You climb 70 stories of mass ladder before each shift. The climb takes 25 minutes. You carry your lunch in a backpack. You carry a 64-ounce Gatorade bottle, empty, because climbing down to the Porta-John is a 30-minute production stop and you stop pretending it wasn't years ago. The Seattle Times once profiled a tower operator named Hader who works out of Granite Falls. Same climb, same bottle, same Seahawks flags on the cab wall. You decorate yours with stickers from every project. The cab is the size of a closet. It's yours for 10 hours. You swing rebar bundles up to deck 35. You trolley the concrete bucket to the pour. You place a curtain wall panel within an inch on a radio call from a signal person you can't see. Wind anemometer reads 22, then 26, then 31. At 30, you blow out. You call the wind hold. The general contractor loses 2 hours of pour. He doesn't argue, because the chart is still the law. When you climb the crane, when the crew jumps a new mast section as the building rises, every securing pin gets torqued before the next section is freed. Every one. That sequence has 8 steps and you walk them in the same order, the same way the oiler walked the inspection at 5:30 in the morning, because the lesson of 2008 at 303 East 51st Street is in the Union Hall paperwork. A Local 14 operator named Wayne Bleidner was in that cab. He was 51. He was one of 7. You read his name on the wall the day you got your ticket. There's a Local 14 operator named Danny Nolan, who worked the World Trade Center pile in the recovery, who told NPR in 2016 that it was never easy, that you see people coming out encased in concrete powder. You read his interview the night before your first climb. The first solo jump, you re-zero the load moment indicator yourself, and the climbing crew foreman watches you do it and says nothing, which is how you know. You stop flinching at the wind. The cab smells like a thermos at 6 a.m. The blue light at 400 feet in February is its own color. The 5 a.m. alarm doesn't wake you anymore. You wake before it. A blind lift to the backside of the building. Called in by radio only, the panel sets exactly where the ironworker on the radio said to set it. He clicks twice. That's the thank you. You start to be assigned by name to flagship projects. Hudson Yards. The union calls. You answer. Level 5. The Crawler Specialist. You're 42, NCCCO LAT certified for lattice boom crawlers. On a refinery turnaround in the Gulf, working 60-hour weeks on per diem. The pay clears $200,000 a year with the overtime and the travel. The crane is a Liebherr crawler. It took 5 days to assemble it in the laydown yard, with a support crane feeding mass sections, and the mat layout under the tracks took an engineer 2 weeks to design. The lift today is 2,000 tons. The load is a quench tower for an ethane cracker, 87 meters long, and Mammoet's project manager, a man named Tim Dowdle, has signed the plan that says, on the cover sheet, extensive planning and mobilization within an intense schedule. You read it on the trailer table before sunrise. The 10 steps of the critical lift run in the same order they ran on the first grove. Engineered lift plan in hand. Crane and rigging walk through with the crew. Ground bearing confirmed. Crane assembled on mats with the derrick mast. Load weighed by certified weighbox. Rigging gear inspected and tagged. Tailboard meeting and sign-off. Trial pick at 12 inches. Controlled swing on tagline tension. Set. Derrig. Debrief. The diesel stack chuffs. The lattice steel creaks under load. You feel the boom deflect through the seat. You watch the load. The most expensive object in your eye line is not the crane. The tandem pick across the yard. You and another operator on a second crawler. The two of you on the same radio channel. You set the reactor head at the same rate. Same angle, eyes locked on the load and not on each other. The radios go quiet. The load sets. The rigger gives both of you the closed fist. The unspoken rule on a turnaround is that nobody fires the operator who said no to wind. You say no twice this week and the lift director nods both times. You sign the trial pick form. You stop saving the per diem receipts. By the end of the turnaround, you know which lift directors call your phone first. Mammoet's LNG Canada scope, up in Kitimat, has moved 350,000 tons of modules, the largest over 10,000 tons each, and the Gulf Coast jobs are starting to look the same. The next phone call is from the planning room, not the field. They want you to write the lift plan instead of run it. Level 6. The Lift Director. You're 51, NCCCO Mobile Lift Director credentialed, and the laminated lift plan in front of you on the trailer table has a signature line in the bottom right corner. The signature is yours. The plan is a critical lift, a 600-ton coker drum, and you're the responsible person under ASMEB 30.5 and OSHA 1926 Subpart CC. Pay is $200,000 with stipends and supervisory premiums. The 8 steps of sign-off are the same 8 steps you walked as an oiler 30 years ago, only now you're the one initialing each line. Engineered drawings reviewed. Load weight verified against manufacturer's data and the weighbox. Rigging gear inspection tags confirmed. Lift path walked for clearance. Ground bearing pressure against the soil report. Wind, weather, communications. Tailboard brief for the entire crew. Signature. The Bechtel Chief Rigging Engineer, J. Keith Anderson, named a Bechtel Distinguished Engineer in 2016. Author of the textbook The Apprentices read, once told ENR that when you are lifting and moving stuff, you are dealing with considerable risk. You have his book on the shelf above the trailer table. You read it twice. The day the superintendent comes in saying the schedule is costing $4 million a day, the wind is 32 and gusting 38, and you call the hold, he argues. You don't. He leaves. The lift happens the next morning at sunrise, in still air, exactly the way the plan called it. You sign. The first time you say no cost the project a day. The 5th time, the superintendent stops arguing. You stop calling it judgment. You start calling it the job. The radio holster clicks on your chest strap when you walk. The iPad in the Pelican case is heavier than the lift plan it holds. The crew calls you on a first-name basis. Behind you, on the wall of the trailer, is a laminated sheet from a 2018 New York case. Kevin Riley, a Tribeca operator whose hoist machine license was permanently revoked on May 2nd of that year, after a 565-foot Liebherr crawler came down in 37-mile-per-hour winds. Behind that is a Washington state sheet from 2022, a $150 million King County jury verdict for the Seattle disassembly collapse. 4 killed. The mast securing pins removed prematurely. You read both every Monday. They are not warnings, they are reasons. Level 7. The owner. You're 58, and the crane you used to run is an asset on a balance sheet. The fleet in front of you is yours. You stopped sitting in the cab 6 years ago. In 2008, Platinum Equity took Maxim Crane Works private for $600 million. In August of 2016, Apollo combined Maxim and AmQuip in a deal valued at $1.4 billion, including debt, and the operator who ran the iron didn't write it. The bankers did. A different path. Bigge Crane and Rigging out of San Leandro, family-run since 1916. The current CEO, Weston Settlemier, is the 5th generation. In March of 2023, Bigge took a majority stake in Empire Crane out of Syracuse from 2 brothers named Paul and Luke Lonergan. Settlemier said on the announcement that he'd known the brothers for over 20 years, that they were the 2 most trusted principals in the crane and equipment sales business. You read it on a tablet on a plane on the way to a closing. The signature on the term sheet is yours. The crane that took 40 years to learn, the same lattice silhouette that scared you on your first refinery, is in the photo on the cover of the deal book. You sign. You don't fly the next morning. The wire clears. Look at the receipt in your father's hand at the Home Depot rental counter, 1988. $350 a day for a Bobcat. The hardest math in the trade is the math of how many Bobcat days fit in a $1.4 billion deal. About 4 million. The kid in the cab, that morning, didn't know the answer. The kid in the cab learned the joysticks before he learned the alphabet of the load chart. Learned the load chart before he learned the 8 steps of a tower crane jump. Learned the 8 steps before he learned the 10 steps of a critical lift. Every ladder above his was someone else's 8 steps. Walked in the same order. The signature on the trailer table plan is the same hand that held the Home Depot receipt. The Sharpie squeaks on the laminate, same hand, different paper. The pay peak in this trade is the silence right after the wind-hold call, the no that nobody fires you for. The lift director gets paid most for the lifts he doesn't make. The cost of the climb is real. A knee that doesn't bend the way it used to, an apprenticeship year that took the place of a college one, 1,000 5 a.m. climbs in February. You don't trade them back. The Bobcat is in your father's barn still. The keys are on the hook by the door. They're yours.